Good morning. This morning I would like to read for you a poem of my own entitled "And." I had spoken on a previous video about the concept of angst, and now I had destroyed everything I'd ever written that had to do with angst. And I had never intended to write anything else along that line. And I thought I hadn't. About a year after I had this collection bound, I reread several of the poems in it, and including this one, and realized that this one did rise from angst, but it went in a completely different direction. It wasn't me whining and complaining and looking for the darkness. This was about me taking what at that time was an uncomfortable living situation, an uncomfortable work situation, taking that and turning it to something fun, turning it into a story, and turning it into what would eventually be where I am now. I'm no longer in either of those situations. So this morning I would like to show you where angst took me in a different direction. So this is a poem entitled "And." Near the corner of a field, beyond the grassy verge, standing tall beneath the crackling cottonwoods, and bowing near the stream that flows near, but not too near, the hide-tufted fence of wire barbed, I dug a hole. Dirt, with old rain clotted, molding with ancient leaves, crisp with old bones and stones, and loosened by worm-tunneled homes, grew into a mound. From a shovel that arced and twisted in blistered hands and fingers it flew. The hole grew as much as something that has no substance can grow. More of nothing became more of something, and the hole was thrust square and full 3 feet deep. Sun rolled in hot drops and fell through the crackling cottonwoods and splashed on the shifting shadows below. Drippling drops fell hard on a quartzite flake thrusting tooth-like from the earth. A soft-cast river-stone its sparkle shone, and the child hidden within me awoke, and quickly saw in it a fair light brooch set atop the turban of the great Cham. Formerly stout of set and stern of mien, he was dead now, and buried now, melting and melding beyond this flowing stream. His treasures were slowly fleeing him to be found on river-banks. And into a long-burrowed smooth-board, silently sifted hole in the mound, crept the bold great worm. Master of decay and emperor of the underworld, rapacious in his search for sacrifice and blood-red gold, he drove straight deep. Deceptive as the serpent, he was as pink as the source. Softly blind as an old peach, he saw from within his tender pit. And beyond them, childish me saw the rabbity bones of heroes, dark from their sleep in the earth, and the leaf-lights fluttered beneath the weight of the sun, and the stream shook its mighty shoulder all the way to the bullying sea. And I dreamed and thought that all I've been taught is as far from the truth as it seems. And of a sudden I was young, growing old. And with the sun-seeking clouds I grew bold, and the hole beyond the grassy verge was the something from nothing of which I have told. And so into the hole of my hole I stepped. Full 3 feet deep within nothing I stood, watching the sun as it sat. And I knew that things planted in the earth with terrible certainty will grow fat and round in its decay, and realize a solidity that I lacked through willful forbearance. And so I shoveled the earth in around my feet. And I stood in the cascading light beneath the crackling cottonwoods, waiting for my age, ripening. Beyond the fence, beyond the stream, I cast away the shovel to become mature in my darkening age. And the shovel is in the stream now, and the birds are in the trees now. And I know that life will somehow carry me off again, but it will have to dig me up when it comes to fetch me up then, for I have begun to take their root again in my field beyond the stream, and my toes are growing slowly into soft earth beneath the tree. And I'm growing older, and sadly no less bolder, and the worm has begun to molder, drying there in the sun, near that dullest chip of quartzite. There is no course to moonlight, unlike the dripply sunlight cindering his source-pink flesh to dun. He is no longer source-hued, but only simply death-rude, as he lies with eternal certitude, wrinkling in the sun. But my childish fantasies still tide rise and threaten to carry me away, and maybe someday I'll be strong enough, and long enough to reach that shovel that lies within sight, there edged by the moving water that undercuts its rest. And I'll dig around my feet, and shake the death dirt from them, and I'll climb that hide-tasseled fence near the corner of a field. And that's all. Thank you.